All right. Hello, everybody. Well, hopefully, I have a new setup here, so hopefully this is better quality, but we'll see. Hope you guys are doing good today. We're going to try to finish some Vypers, or not Vypers, Rangers, but we're going to be talking about Vypers. The reason I want to talk about Vypers is because it recently came to my attention that no one's using them. No one's using Vypers, which kind of sucks. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, we might just sit down and talk for a little bit. How's everybody doing? Let's see if I can adjust this a little bit so we can see more of the Vypers. Yeah, Felix, Vypers are cool. I like Vypers. You know, the thing is I really do like Vypers, but they're not really being played in super competitive play. And I think there's a reason for it. And I'm going to talk about it in a video probably tomorrow, discussing, kind of why Vypers are not seen as much, why they're not being used, and of course, why Vypers are good. So I think Vypers, unfortunately, suffer from being one of those units that's kind of like a midway between a hard-hitting anti-tank unit like a Warwalker or a Hornet and a utility model that's good at scoring objectives. And the reason I say that is because both the Hornet and the Warwalker cannot score secondaries super well. The Hornet's a little better at it, but the Vyper can actually advance and still be eligible to score on secondaries. So it's a little bit of a better pick as far as a secondary objective than, a Warwalker or maybe like a Hornet, for example. It's also a little cheaper, so it's a little bit more expendable, but they're still kind of expensive. And that's why I think, people still kind of, still kind of don't want to use them. But I got a couple Hornets right here, or Vypers right here. I've used them as Hornets before, that's why, but, I'm a fan. I'm a Vyper fan. And I got them in 9th edition because Vypers were like an auto take unit for secondary objectives in 9th edition. They were so cheap. And now they're almost about double the cost that they used to be, a little bit more. So they're a little bit harder to use in that way, but I think they're still good, personally. So my Rangers are coming along, by the way. I'm almost done with them. Let me see if you can see them. Almost finished. Just need some details and stuff like that. They're almost finished. And I got a couple of big announcements as far as what I'm going to be doing over the next couple weeks and kind of what direction I'm going to start going with my content and stuff like that. which I think will be cool. I think everybody will probably appreciate it. I'm going to be trying to do more of these live streams. Obviously, you know, getting more people to watch is key, and actually announcing this, you know, as far as the time and stuff, so people can come on and actually watch it. So that's one thing. Second, I want to kind of expand my content a little bit. I know I've covered a little bit of Dark Eldar stuff, but it's mostly been how Dark Eldar relate to Ynnari. And what I want to do, hopefully, is start talking about Dark Eldar as an army. Now, I haven't played Dark Eldar proper in a long time. Hello, Barely Rare. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. I haven't actually played Dark Eldar in a minute, you know? I haven't played them really seriously and competitively since 5th edition. So, yeah, that's going to be a little bit weird because I do know the units very well. I know how to play the game very well. But yeah, same here, Barely. I haven't really used them as a proper army since 5th edition. And in 5th edition, I was very competitive with Dark Eldar. I really enjoyed the army. But unfortunately, you know, I just haven't played them for years and years and years. Over 10 years, basically. Nice, dude. Yeah, Dark Eldar, I mean, right now, competitively, they're one of the worst armies. And I think there's a reason for that. Unfortunately, Dark Eldar, I think, suffer from a lack of variety in their units. And they can only really go in one direction this edition because they don't have a lot of support otherwise. So you can't really go all homunculus covens because there's just not enough units, right? There's just not enough units. You just can't run them like that anymore. Yeah, Power from Pain is cool. It's a cool ability. It's a cool ability, allows you to reroll hits, reroll charge rolls, advance rolls if you want. I think the advance rolls is probably the worst of the bunch, but you know, rerolling charges is really awesome. Is it as good as Strands of Fate? No. Strands of Fate is a lot more guaranteed, like, than a reroll on charge, but it just depends on the circumstance, right? Now, the other thing about Dark Eldar is their assault units are very fragile, you know? Like, if you're running witches, which are the, you know, kind of battle line Dark Eldar troop choice, basically, in 10th, Overwatch is a pain. If anybody has a flamer, if anybody has something that auto hits or overwatches effectively, you're pretty much, you're gone out of the gate. You know, your assault units are going to have a very hard time, which sucks, right? So a lot of Dark Eldar players are really leaning into Kabbalite Warriors, Scourges, Ravagers, and that's basically everybody's army. And that's it. That's basically what's going on with Dark Eldar. And when you only have a couple of viable units in the army, as a Dark Eldar player, it starts to be a little bit more difficult to play them. Now, I want to get back into them and try to kind of start working at Dark Eldar a little bit and seeing what the actual problems with the army are, because I think they can be good. I just think they're very uninteresting to a lot of players because they don't have a lot of variety, like I said, you know? Like, unless you're playing the Kabbalite Warrior Scourge spam in competitive play, like, not a lot of people want to actually run them. But there's a lot of units in the Dark Eldar army that are actually pretty good. It's just they're not very popular competitively, again, because they don't have a lot of variety. So I do want to get more into them and talk about different units and stuff like that. Again, I'm not a Dark Eldar main or anything like that, like I am with the Craftworld Eldar and stuff, but I do know the army fairly well, and I have played them before, so I know their playstyle. And they have a lot of cool things. If you run them solo, the Archon has a lot of cool, nifty things. He did get kind of a weird nerf with the latest balance data slate, not being able to target certain stratagems with his ability to, you know, make them cost more, which is unfortunate, but he's still good. And, you know, I think that the witches got a significant buff because they got a lot cheaper. So that's good, although witches are still kind of bad, like, you know, at top tables. Just because they're so easy to remove, you know. And I think the one thing is you can't you can't really underestimate this, is how easy in 10th edition it is to remove models with Overwatch that are that squishy, right? Like, I think as Eldar players, we think our models are super squishy, and they definitely are. But if you compare overwatching a unit of aspect warriors like warp spiders to overwatching, a unit of witches, it's miles difference, right? Witches have a terrible armor save, and warp spiders at least have that 3-up save and 5-up invul, and witches, they don't have that. They have a 4+ invul in combat, and I think they have a 6-up invul at range, but that's it. And they have like terrible armor, I think 6-up as well. So, basically everything is ignoring armor against them, which sucks. Which really does suck. So there is that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, let me know about the Dark Eldar or the Eldar. I'm open to conversation about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about, yeah, I completely agree, Phil. Is I think there's a way to actually fix Overwatch for weaker assault armies like Eldar and Dark Eldar, but unfortunately, that's just the direction that GW decided to go with combat this edition. That it's not so strong. Yeah. Another announcement I want to make, and maybe you guys will see this as kind of a surprise, but I'm thinking of switching up my paint scheme for my army. I really like this paint scheme. It's kind of cool and stuff, but I am considering a change. Just because you guys don't know me and my personality when it comes to painting, but I get bored quickly with paint schemes, and I always have for a long time. Hey Oliver, how's it going? So I'm actually thinking of painting up this last squad of Rangers, and I'm thinking of doing a switch and changing for a little bit and doing something else. That might mean that I change up, I don't want to repaint all these guys, so it might mean that I end up just kind of putting this army on pause. The bronzed Eldar, I might put them on pause for painting after these Rangers and just do something else just for my own sanity. So I don't know what I have in store for them. I'll have to, kind of think about it a little bit and see, but I'm hoping to kind of incorporate more different kind of schemes in my army and, do different craft worlds and stuff like that. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking of doing that. So that's another big announcement. What else? Yeah, and that's basically it. And for those of you who are joining late, who are joining us now, welcome. We're just kind of talking about some stuff, some announcements about the channel and stuff like that. Now, I did also want to address a couple of things before I kind of go ahead and talk about other stuff. And that is, one, the channel campaign. So a lot of you guys have been kind of, participating in the channel campaign and submitting, games to my email, and that's awesome. I'm going to do another update hopefully tomorrow or next Wednesday, depending on how many games I get submitted today, which will be cool. The channel campaign is kind of, still going on and stuff. It's slated to end in November, which is next month on the 22nd, I think. But something I did want to tell you guys is that I do want to do more of these campaigns in the future. However, I think for the next one, it's going to be a little bit different to where the rules are a little bit different. And I'll go over why I am deciding to make those changes. But basically, it's because, we're getting a lot of, we're not getting as many submissions as I wanted. So we're probably going to have to, change the rules a little bit so we can get some more variety, stuff like that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Eldar Knights fan decks. I don't know how many of you guys are kind of keeping up on that, but I've basically been designing some data sheets for the Eldar Knights on the community page, and I've been posting them. I will also post them to the Discord once I have most of them completed. and fixed so that we can, as a community, maybe start playtesting if we have, some people that actually want to do it and are interested in it. Like in a casual group of friends, I have a few buddies myself who want to, help me with that. So we're going to do that, which should be really cool. I think if we can actually, get together and start talking about, the Eldar Knights fan decks and start, coming together as a community and trying to make it balanced, but also really cool, that'd be pretty awesome. I know a couple of the data sheets that I wrote up, I'm a little bit unsure about as far as their balance. I know that most of them are balanced, but some of them aren't. Some of them are a little bit too good, if you know what I mean. So we're going to try to kind of fix that a little bit. So the Fandex does have a Kickstarter. If you guys want to kind of check that out, the Kickstarter campaign is, linked in the description. Now, I'm just going to be totally honest with you guys. I don't think the Kickstarter is actually going to meet its goal. I think I kind of set my sights too high with it. I was hoping that I would get people to do artwork and, create some proxy STL files that I could also include as part of the Fandex. And obviously, artists are people, they need to be paid for their work if they're going to be doing it. I don't expect anyone to do anything for free. So, I think depending on how the Kickstarter goes, I think I might just post the rules first, and we might see how far it goes as far as the art and the STL files and stuff for people. Just because, again, I don't expect anyone to do anything for free. Now, if anybody is listening to this in the future and says, hey, Proxy Hammer, reaches out to me and says, hey, I want to do some artwork for, the Fandex for free, that's awesome. That would be much appreciated, but I don't expect anyone to do anything for free. So if the Kickstarter doesn't go through, it's all good. No worries. But I can't do the art by myself. I just don't know how. And I definitely don't want to do a disservice to, the Eldar Knights. So, if that happens, I am going to be just doing the rules for now, and then later on, probably adding in the art. It's going to be a gradual process, which will still be fun, which should still be cool. All right, what else? Yeah, I think that's it for the announcements. I think we got all those out of the way. If you guys have any questions, let me know, obviously. If you guys have any questions about the direction of the channel or future videos, let me know as well. We're just here to talk. Obviously I plan to do more of these because sometimes it's not always clear to all of you what I'm going to do on the channel next or what I have planned or stuff like that. So do tell me if, you have any questions or anything like that. And hopefully, I'm hoping we can kind of reach 3K subscribers by the end of the month. I think that would be really cool too, if we can do that. Have any of you considered, or I don't know how many people are watching right now. 5. Yeah, I definitely need to announce my streams from now on because we're kind of at a little bit of a low count here. But has anybody been running Vypers in their lists? The Skatar Wraith Knight? Yeah, I think there is a place for it. I think it's actually better than the actual Wraith Knight now, feel is. I like the Skatar Wraith Knight. And the cool thing about the Skatar Wraith Knight is he has a once per game sky leap. So he can actually kind of be like a swooping hawk for one turn, which is cool. Now, what I really like about the model, now check this out. Now, unfortunately, he can't Overwatch anymore because of the nerf, which sucks. But he does have the Death Shroud cannons, which are really good anti-infantry. They're like 3d6 attacks each with devastating wounds. They're basically like a Death Spinner, but with 3d6 attacks each. So really strong weapon for clearing out infantry and stuff like that, which is really awesome. And then it has a long-range version too, which is a little bit better against heavier stuff. So I do like the Skatar Wraith Knight very much. The Inferno Lances are good, although I think with the Inferno Lances, you're kind of just, at that point, spending a lot of points for a little bit more anti-tank. Really not much difference, though, to be honest. So personally, I don't know about that loadout, but yeah. Yeah, he's a massive Warp Spider. That's exactly what he is. He's awesome. He's an awesome model. I actually really like it. It's really cool. Yeah, and he's really cool. I really like that model a lot. The Wraith Knight, unfortunately, I haven't used them since the nerf, and I don't think I'm going to because he's kind of disappointing right now. To be honest, I know some people still run him, and he's still good. I just don't like him competitively, and I don't like how hard he is to maneuver around the battlefield now. Which, I mean, is fine. I mean, he was broken before, right? I mean, he was super OP. But even for the people who are running him with like the Sun Cannon or were running him with like the Titanic Ghostglaive and stuff, he's just so much harder to use now than he was before, and he's really just not really that worth it. But yeah, I think the Skatau Wraith Knight is awesome. That's a model I'll always be a fan of also. Let's see if I can do this 1 second. I need to move something real quick. There we go. Sorry, needed to readjust. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, recently I actually ordered a kind of webcam, so hopefully I can get that in within the next couple of days, and then I can actually run these streams a little bit more, a little bit more official. Right now it's kind of just like I'm just using my iPhone to like record these, so hopefully it gets a little bit better, but yeah, better quality and stuff. Yeah, Felas. I think it really just the thing about the Wraith Knight is it really just takes up too much of your army, and it's just not as useful as other things. I totally agree, and you don't end up scoring much on objectives if you do that. You've been running Skyweavers. They're pretty cool too. Hey Drace, how's it going? Yeah, Captain. Skyweavers are good, and I like them specifically with the Haywire cannons. I think they're really good with that. Wind Riders are also pretty good with shuriken cannons against orcs, especially all that feel no pain spam. Like I played an orc player the other day, and he actually kind of just rage quit against it because, well, he didn't really understand how feel no pain worked to begin with, but he was kind of a novice. I felt bad, but yeah. Thanks, Matthew. I'm almost finished with the Rangers. I just need a couple more days with them, and they'll be done. My consensus on Vypers is that they're good, but competitive players aren't playing them because they kind of have a dual role. They're a little bit of anti-tank, light anti-tank. They're a little bit of support, and they're also a little bit of objective play. And people typically don't like taking models. They're a little bit of everything just because they're not as specialized. So I think that's the problem with Vypers in competitive play. But I like them a lot, and actually, as long as you go into a battle knowing that that's what a Viper is and you play it as that, you play it as a very versatile model that can do a little bit of anything depending on what you need that turn, I think you can have a lot of success with them. Yeah, Void Weavers are great too. I thought you meant Sky Weavers, but Void Weavers are fantastic. They're great. They have a lot of anti-infantry potential, and they have some good anti-tank too, and anti-large. Hey, Back Solutions, how's it going? Good to see you on. Yeah, we're just talking about different stuff, which is cool, just hanging out. We'll probably do more of these in the future and stuff, Like, I'm thinking that could be a good idea. Hey, Andy. Good to finally see you in the stream, man. That's cool. I know, hopefully I don't have to end it soon. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements to you guys about the direction of the channel and stuff like that, and talk about Vypers a little bit, because I'm not seeing Vypers in competitive lists, and I was wondering why, and I think that's why. I haven't obviously talked to any super competitive players, but I think that's one of the reasons, because they just kind of do a little bit of everything, and they're not as good at certain things as other units. So, like, for example, if you guys are wondering why you're not seeing Vypers at a competitive level, but you're having a lot of success with Vypers, it's probably because there's cheaper units that do that specific thing better, like, than a Vyper does, Yeah, I agree with you, Oliver. I think if it kept its auto 6-inch advance, it would be very good. And if it was a little bit cheaper, it would be very good for objective play. It would be fantastic. But I mean, you can still give it a 6. And I think with the fact that the Wraith Knight is not as prevalent, I think 6s on Fate dice are a lot easier to get. So if you have a Viper in the background and you're like, sitting at maybe turn 4 and you really need to score a secondary objective, like maybe you like draw homers or something and you have nothing that can score on teleport homers. If you have a Viper in the back, you can easily, do that, Fate dice, use a Fate dice or use a Farseer's Branching Fates to give him a 6-inch advance, move 20 inches up the field, score that teleport homer, and get your secondary objective done. Because the Viper has the Twin Link Shuriken Catapult, which does have the Assault keyword, so it can do both, which is great. But I think really what people are saying about the Viper, at least from what I've heard, is it's more expensive than a unit of Swooping Hawks, and it's worse on secondaries, which is true. Swooping Hawks are better at secondaries than a Viper. It's worse in firepower than a Warwalker and a Hornet, because it has one less Bright Lance in both of those. And when you take those two things combined, like, it seems just like a weaker option overall, and it's a little bit more fragile than both of those other things. Yeah, and you know what, Captain? You're absolutely right, too. Like, everything gets cover this edition, so if you needed to use your Viper to, like, ignore a cover save, ignore the benefit of cover, like, it's so clutch for that. Like, I have a Viper in my competitive list, and it's very good, like, at removing that. And I just use it as kind of like a jack of all trades, I use it a little bit for objectives if I need to, but primarily I'm using it for that remove cover and, Bright Lance too. It's been great. I've had no complaints with it. And I think it's a very good model, It's one of those models that's never going to win you an award, and it's not like a super standout model, like, oh, this did amazing. It's not like a Night Spinner, It's not like something you could just spam and it could be like super, super broken. But it does win you games, and it does shift the advantage in your favor if you do know how to run it correctly. So that's going to be my next video, is covering Vypers, and I think that would be good for people to kind of look at. Because, I mean, think about Swooping Hawks, for example. Swooping Hawks, no one really wanted to run those at the beginning of the edition. They thought they were useless, pretty much, And now people are running them in competitive lists all the time. It's just, once that, kind of knowledge about how to use a unit in 10th edition unlocks, I think a lot more people are more willing to bring it to a tournament, And once more people are willing to do it, the chances that you get a podium placement are much higher for that unit. It's like Fuegan, right? Like Fuegan's always been good. We all know this. But a lot of people were arguing at the beginning of the edition that he sucked. That he wasn't worth taking. Because why take Fuegan when you can just take a Wraith Knight or you can just take a Warwalker? I have a buddy who plays Uthway, and he doesn't play super competitively or anything, but he just kind of runs kind of more of a fluffy Uthway, just whatever he wants to run kind of thing. And he was telling me the same thing. He was like, well, Fuegan's great and everything, but how about that Wraith Knight? Like, I don't think anybody's taking Fuegan when you could just take a Wraith Knight, Which is kind of true, but now since the Wraith Knight is gone, I think a lot more has opened up. And I think the same thing of the Viper, and like I told, kind of like what I said in the last video about the Hemlock Wraith Fighter, or not the Hemlock Wraithfighter. God, what, that thing's terrible. The Crimson Hunter. You know, the Crimson Hunter is kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a hidden gem because of all the nerfs. It's actually, in my opinion, quite viable now in competitive play. And I mean, I've kind of heard people say the same thing, that they've been having success with a single or double Crimson Hunter just to, you know, pop artillery in the back and stuff like that. And when you think about the armies that Eldar struggle against, one of the main armies that people say is, I struggle with heavy artillery guard armies, or I struggle with Tau, you know. And what's good against those armies? Well, a Crimson Hunter. A Crimson Hunter is very good in those matchups. So I can definitely see people taking a Crimson Hunter in their competitive lists. I know that sounds crazy, guys. I'm not a nut. I'm not off my nut. I do think that's going to start being the case. I could be wrong, but I think people are going to start using it. How to physically use a Crimson Hunter. Yeah. You mean like on the table? Like how to move it and stuff? Like a tutorial? I could definitely do that. The hard part about making videos like that, Andy, is that I would really have to show you in real time. You know what I mean? But I could do that. I could set that up somehow. I just have to find out a way. Yeah, it's a cool model. Crimson Hunters are cool. I'm warming up to them. I know, I'm a big nut. I'm the nutty professor. Any of you guys ever watch The Nutty Professor? Just wondering. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about, I bet. Who is this nut? Yeah. Yeah, but definitely. That's funny, you know, I'm not even part of the big Eldar server. Partially just because I want to keep a clear mind about stuff. And that's the thing, like, there's so much stuff out there, there's so many different opinions. I try to do my best to keep a clear mind when I make my videos for you guys, so that you guys just get my unadulterated thought process on units. Just right out of the codex, right from my experience, right what I'm, you know, playing with and stuff like that, just so you guys know. Okay, sweet Oliver, you have watched The Nutty Professor. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm a big nut though. I mean, Storm Guardians too. People told me I was a nut for Storm Guardians as well. Yeah, the Crimson Hunter, dude. It's not a meme, dude. I seriously don't think it's a meme, I have to say. You guys should try the Crimson Hunter and see how it is. It's really good in certain matchups. Like, it's so good against certain matchups to the point where it's like, why the hell wasn't I using this before, you know? Oh, I'm sorry, Captain. The Hemlock is just so bad, dude. I don't know what happened to the Hemlock because I had high hopes for it. But it paid for the Inari Alpha Strike list spam thing it did. So 2W wanted to nerf that. Fine cast Storm Guardians? Oh, dude, I feel sorry for you. Oh, dude, I absolutely hated Storm Guardians, how you'd build them in the past. It was one of the reasons why I never owned Storm Guardians, was because of how hard they were to put together back in the day. It was like a mix of plastic and metal models, and they didn't fit right. Like, the heads were like slightly smaller than the bodies, like they had to fit into. It was awful, dude. It was absolutely awful. That's the thing though, like, historically I've hated Storm Guardians, but they're actually pretty good this edition for a number of reasons. Yeah, back solution. I have fun with the units, that's for sure. I tried a bunch of different stuff. A lot of my stuff is proxied when I try it, because I'm not gonna like go out and like spend like thousands of dollars on an army just to try it like a couple times, but I do use the units a lot. So yeah. Oh, the chain swords are awful, Oliver, dude. They break. They're so finicky. They come with like horrible like flash on them that you have to clean off. And then if you make one mistake with your hobbying knife, the whole fucking thing is cut in half. It's terrible, dude. And they bend. It's kind of like a plastic toy, you know? It's kind of like playing with a plastic toy. Like the fine cast models, they feel like that. It's really bad. Yeah, and Captain, I know, and they came in 7 mans or they came in like 8 mans or some shit. It was so fucked. And then I think you had to buy the special weapon separate too, if I'm not mistaken, Captain. And that sucked as well. Yeah, I just never bought them. My buddy who plays Uthway, he really liked Storm Guardians, and he got into the Storm Guardians. And he bought, you know, like 2 boxes of the upgrades, and he had like 16 of them in his army at one point. I was like, what's the point, you know? They're terrible. Yeah, man. The new Storm Guardians are fantastic, though. The kit is great. I just recently built 10 of them because I was proxying with normal Guardians before that. I was just telling people there were Storm Guardians. And, you know, I'm not playing super, like, you know, in tournaments or anything like that with them or anything, you know, obviously. But, you know, practicing with them and stuff like that, I like to run them as whatever. And they were doing really good. And the only missions they did badly in were the missions that either the objectives disappeared. The supply cache mission, I think, is when they sucked, and they also suck in the sticky objectives mission. But that's the only case. Those are the only cases where your Storm Guardians aren't going to be that good. In every other mission, like on most deployments, you can deploy them on your home objectives, stretch them to the edge of your deployment zone, and literally just move and advance and maybe a fire and fade onto the center objective and get that sticky too in the first turn. It's really good. People underestimate that move, and people don't see it coming. Like when they see Storm Guardians on the battlefield, they assume you're just going to use them to make your home objective sticky and that you're not going to run them up in the middle. Do I think Vypers are more useful than Hornets? I like them. It's just they're different. You know, a Hornet is going to be more firepower out of the gate, but a Viper is going to give you a little bit of flexibility, Andy. So having a Viper is really good in support of other units in your army to remove cover. It's also a really good, you know, kind of objective piece if you have nothing else to get to objectives. Because, you know, in our heads, we can all create the ideal scenarios for games, but sometimes that doesn't happen, right? Like sometimes your opponent's going to have a tool to deal with your swooping hawk. Sometimes your opponent's going to have a tool to deal with your warp spiders, but maybe not your Viper. And a Viper can, at that point, perform a secondary objective and score you points, whereas Warp Spiders maybe aren't in a position to, or maybe Swooping Hawks aren't in a position to. So Vipers are situationally better, Andy, but they're not better on paper. And that's what a lot of people kind of don't get about them, I think. Yeah, Uthway's cool. So you're like my buddy, Captain. He plays Uthway. He has all his stuff painted Uthway, but, you know, the real reason he wants them Uthway is because they're easy to paint. You just primed them black and highlighted them, and that's it. They're Uthway. He got all of his stuff painted super quick. But that's cool. I mean, they look good, you know? They look good. Yeah, Chaos players bring cultists. Exactly. Sticky objectives win games. And look at how many games Chaos players are winning, you know? And they're bringing cultists. Why shouldn't we bring Storm Guardians? Storm Guardians are, you know, obviously not as cheap, but they're a little bit better than cultists, too. They can do a little bit more. You're welcome, Andy. My pleasure. Yeah. Vipers with Shroud Runners and Walkers. Yep, War Walkers. They're good. Well, you know what combo I really like to take out a big tank or a big threat is I like hitting something with a Viper and then following up with the War Walker. Because usually that means the Viper in most cases will be safe because they'll try to kill the War Walker first. Typically. Oh, dude, Captain, you're freehanding the lightning, dude? Oh, shoot. On the Witchblades and stuff, huh? You're doing a lightning theme? You know, I did try that once. You know what? What's funny is I actually did a commission where a guy wanted me to paint a Farseer Skyrunner. And I painted it with a lightning Witchblade. It wasn't bad. I surprised myself. I did a pretty good job on it. But it took a long-ass time, dude. So I feel you. How do you use it, Back Solutions? How do you use the Viper? You do it with like people go for the Viper first or what? Oh yeah, custodes. Yeah, now that Arbites suck, custode. That's another thing people aren't really getting is that yeah, there was a lot of nerfs that hit custodes with their stratagem stuff, but the nerf to the Arbites was really tough, and I think a lot of people overlooked that too. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Back Solution. If somebody goes for the Viper, that's totally fine because the Warwalker can actually survive a couple hits with Fate Dice. So the Warwalker can live. A lot of my opponents have been just right away targeting the Warwalker because they know they need like a solid like 4 last cannons to kill that thing. So they target that thing and they just leave the Viper alone. And then the Viper kind of just does whatever it wants, scores objectives and stuff like that. That's typically how it goes. Because they know they're not going to be able to kill both. They do it the opposite way. Yeah, Bright Lances, Bright Lance Vipers is how to run them. I had to tear off my scatter lasers and put Bright Lances on them. Yeah, for sure, Captain. Throw some pics on there, man. That's great. I'd love to see your work actually. Actually, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about like a I know I've said this a couple times, but if you guys come together and you send me some like art of your like best painted models, like I'll put together a video. I just need about I would say about 30, you know, if I can get 30 people to submit photos of their best work, like I'll put it into a video and I'll put it on YouTube. You know, kind of a community Eldar showcase just to kind of show solidarity with people. And honestly, by the way, like it doesn't even matter if you're the best painter out there. Like I'm not looking for golden demons here. I mean, look at my look at my stuff. It's definitely not golden demon, right? It's just tabletop stuff, but like the great thing about the community is like everybody's like proud of their own work and like that's what I want to show off that like, you know, the Eldar community's here. We're painting our models. We don't care if you think we're super cheesy players. We don't care about your shit. We're gonna still play our favorite elves. Yeah, send it to my email, my channel email, proxyhammer1 or proxy.hammer1 at gmail. Yeah, for sure. Send me that stuff, guys. Because I'll put it together in a video. I've been saving everything people have been sending me. It's just not enough for a video yet. Like I really, like I have like 5 like pictures or something like that, like of like, you know, people like showcase stuff. And by the way, when you guys send in your pictures, make sure it's like good quality. It's not blurry or anything like that. Because that's not something I can show on YouTube, like a blurry picture or something, you know, looks weird. Needs to be formatted correctly. So if you do send them, just send like crystal clear photos. Maybe with like a background, if you guys want to put it on some terrain, make it look super epic, that'd be cool too. Yeah, send some pictures of your Dire Avengers and Rangers, man. I'll fucking put those up on YouTube. Hell yeah. Yeah, just make sure they're, I mean, obviously, guys, make sure they're not like, you know, just in your fucking case. Excuse my language. But make sure they're not like in your like case or something and like they, you know, set them up like epic. Like, you know, have the like freaking Viper like coming at you like this, you know, like I don't know, something cool. I'm like trying to be super careful with this freaking Viper so it doesn't like fall over and break in one hit. Oh, Falcho's wing, dude. Hey, still run him on the battlefield, man. Don't let that stop you. Barely rare. Send them to my email. Here, I'll type it up on chat. Whoops. There we go. Thank you, Drace. I appreciate it. I've been seeing your models on the Discord too, Drace. They look good. So far. Have you guys ever been like combing eBay? And yeah, I definitely will post those in the server, man. When I'm done, I'll post them in. I'll post some of the pictures that I have done of my army. But have you guys ever been surfing eBay for like old Eldar models and you see like just the worst built and worst painted models in the universe on there? Have you ever seen those? Like, you can tell that the person like building them had no, like, it was their first time building models or something like that. It's like so caked in like super glue. Have you ever seen that? Okay, so get this. I have a funny eBay story for you guys. A couple weeks ago, I was searching on eBay for just, you know, combing eBay for either fire prisms, because I want to buy another night spinner, because I only have one, so I want to buy another one so I can convert it so I can either have two prisms or two night spinners, and I don't have to like proxy a falcon for either one of them. So and they're so impossible to find right now. So I'm like combing this, right, and I type in fire prism, and I fire dragons come up, and oh, dude, Drace, I know there's some rough models out there, man, and I come up with fire dragons, and this guy has his fire dragons, right, and they're the fine cast fire dragons. They're not even the metal ones, and he says fine cast fire dragons, pro painted, and I click on them, and they're just absolutely caked. They're caked, man, in paint. And it's so rough that their eyes, you can't even see their eyes anymore. Like, you know those like compilations of like, you know, thin your paints, like the thin your paint memes, like with that like space marine who looks like he's like in like the 7th layer of hell. Well, that's what it looked like, and the listing was pro painted. Awesome, barely. Awesome. Yeah, they need an alcohol bath. Exactly, dude. But I'm so afraid of buying fine cast models and giving them that alcohol bath because they're just so fragile. And I know it's just gonna bend and break if I try to like rub it off with like a toothbrush. God, I'm so afraid of doing that. I just don't buy fine cast as a rule. Like, unless it's like a really good deal, I don't buy fine cast. Because Eldar models are so fragile, you know? They're just so fragile, it's not even worth it. Yeah, for sure, man. I will put up some pictures on the Discord. By the way, anybody watching this who's not a member of the Discord, you can join the Discord. You just have to sign up for a Patreon free trial. It's no cost to you. Obviously, it's a free trial. You just have to cancel before it's over. Of course, if you want to support the channel, that's awesome, but you don't have to. And I'll send you a Discord link, and you can join. And you can talk with other Eldar enthusiasts who, you know, like to have fun. Yeah, Finecast is awful. Oh, nice, Andy, staying in Oklahoma. That's cool. Maybe, hopefully some of them play Warhammer, man. I feel like there's nothing to do in Oklahoma, so that's perfect. Just play war games all day. That's the dream. Feelers, I know what you mean, dude. I had a dream last night about actually, okay, get this, guys. I had a dream last night where I walked into a GW store at the mall, and the whole store was filled with new Eldar shit. And I was just looking at all the fucking cool Eldar stuff, dude. And it was just like all new, all plastic. There was fucking box sets. There was like everything, deals upon deals, dude. There was like a $10 Warp Spider box with new plastic Warp Spiders. Andy, man. She would never allow that. Oh my God. That's why you don't say anything about it. Hopefully my wife doesn't find out. Metal Warp Spiders, man. I was in heaven. Yeah, dude, I was in heaven. That was like wargaming heaven. Everything, the whole store, dude, was filled with just Eldar. It was just Eldar models. It was like a Christmas bonanza. By the way, my favorite time growing up, my favorite year was 2006. My favorite year was 2006 because they came out with a bunch of new Eldar stuff and it was Christmas time. So guess what they had? They had, I was a kid, it was Christmas, and they had the new Eldar battle forces. And oh my god, that Christmas I got so many aspect warriors, so many metal aspect warriors, I couldn't even believe it. It was so cool. So cool. What state am I in? I'm in California. I'm in California. Nice. 3D printing is awesome, dude. I need to get into 3D printing for sure. With the amount of models I proxy, I really need to start 3D printing. It's like my next buy. I'm saving money for a 3D printer. Although I may not be able to buy it for a while due to some different circumstances, but we'll see. Nice, Captain. I can't wait to see them. Shadow Specters, man. Yeah, dude, you're lucky you bought them when they were bad, last edition. Although I didn't think they were terrible last edition. I just, like, they weren't worth their points. They were too expensive. Oh, yeah, you're in Texas. That's all. It's all good, Back Solutions. If you're ever in California, hit me up. I'll play a game. Of course, it'll probably be Eldar versus Eldar, but, I mean, I could always proxy a different army and just fuck around. I could just mess around or something. I've been known to do that. I've been known to just play random armies out of the indexes this edition because everything's available. So it's like a pure proxied army. Like, of course, I mean, like, I don't know much about the other armies, how to play them, but I mean, I know the game, so probably be a decent game. Oh yeah, your dog, dude. Your dog will go to town on some fire dragons. You thought I was a 3D printing channel? Yeah, Proxy Hammer, right? Well, you know what, Drace? My original plan for this channel was to teach people how to play Eldar cheap on the cheap because Eldar are so hard to find, you know. That was the original idea. And then I was like, wait a second. Like, I'm actually a good player. Like, I've been playing for like 20 years. Maybe I should do a tactics channel instead of just like, you know, proxies and stuff like that. The Mars through your Saturn printer from Igloo. I'll try those. Yeah. Yeah, it is cheaper to buy Finecast from a game store sometimes. I agree. But, I mean, the Finecast is so awful that, you know. Well, Drace, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad I didn't just do, like, proxy stuff. Because, I mean, really, that was the original idea behind the channel. But, you know, obviously, there's really not that much Eldar content out there. You know, all the big, like, majorly big gaming channels are for Warhammer or like Space Marine based or lore based stuff, you know. So I thought that was a little lame. So I wanted to kind of add to the, you know, Craftworld Eldar, you know, content. Because I know there's Craftworld Eldar, if you guys have heard of him, probably, because he's like the only guy for a while that was doing Craftworld Eldar content like solo on YouTube. But yeah, like not many Xenos channels out there, man. We're very few in number. He said we have the second highest release of models next to Space Marines. Dude, your buddy might be a fan of the Gunge, my friend. He might be a fan of the Gunge. And that's okay. I have nothing against the Gunge, but I'm just... There's no way that the Eldar is the second highest releases. No way. So many of our models are so old. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Oliver, you can't really squeeze much content out of that, that's for sure. And I think I realized that as well. Striking Scorpion 82. You know what's crazy? When I was growing up, I remember his first couple of videos on YouTube. I remember as a kid watching some of his battle reports. Although Striking Scorpion is mostly a battle report channel. And I mean, he doesn't do just Eldar content anymore. He does just a bunch of battle reports, which is awesome, but he's a cool guy too. Been doing it a long time. That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, the reason why, I mean, really, I mean, it's because we're dedicated players, you know, like the other channel that does that is Crossroad Eldar, and he's been playing Eldar for a long time, and I think he's mostly in the same vein I am when it comes to Eldar content. There's not a lot of Eldar players out there. There needs to be someone to rep the Eldar community. Like, you know, let it be us. You know, I mean, I have fun doing it. You know, I have fun making content for, you know, YouTube and stuff, so it's cool.